So video 3, now we will continue with the percussion. Okay, so we have done the palpation, we have seen how to do it, keeping one hand below the lower and the other hand over the upper lower quadrant, right lower quadrant under the rib cage. So how we have to palpate. Next we will see about percussion. So talking about the percussion, the distended bladder sounds dull when percuss. So when you have a distended bladder, usually whenever there is fluid, the percussion sound will be dull. After gently palpating to determine the general outline of the distended bladder, the nurse begins percussion on the skin of the lower abdomen. So once you have done it over the bladder, then the nurse should go into the skin of the lower abdomen we have to do and continues in the direction of the umbilicus. So from the lower, go again up near the umbilicus until dull sounds are no longer produced. So see where all the dull sounds are there. So usually if there is a dull sound that is found in the abdomen, it can be because of the extended or distended bladder. Okay, so if the client identifies flank pain or tenderness, the non-tender flank is percuss first. That we have already seen even in palpation. If the patient is having severe pain, then we do not go to palpate in the upper flank, but then we do it in the lower flank. The client assumes a sitting, sideline or supine position and the nurse forms one hand into a clenched fist. So here the client, when he is given sitting or sideline position or supine, the nurse forms one hand in a clenched fist. She holds a clenched fist. Okay, and okay, so in this position with the clenched fist she can percuss. But usually for percussion we use only two. Right, you can keep one hand over the patient's this thing and then you should be able to tap. Okay, so like that you will be able to find if it is a dull sound. The heel of the other hand and the little finger form a float area which the thumb to a CVA area can be, or you can just use, as we have studied in physical examination, you can just use two hands. You can assess over the CVA, okay, that we have already seen, and I'm going to post that, okay. So CVA is nothing but costovertebral angle. So there also you can percuss and see, okay, okay. Then costovertebral, when you are doing on the CVA, if the patient has got pain, okay, that is the tenderness is highly suggestive of kidney infection or inflammation. So remember, this costovertebral angle is very, very important when it comes to the assessment of renal disease. If there is pain, tenderness in the patient, it always indicates that the patient might have renal disease or any kind of renal infection. So that plays a vital part. So you can see that in the picture. Okay, the clients with inflammation or infection or adjacent structures may describe the pain as severe or as a constant dull ache. So it can also be because of constant dull ache. Okay, next is assessment of the urethra. So when we assess the urethra using good light source, you have to wear gloves, take a good light source, and the nurse inspects the urethra by examining the meatus. So urethral meatus you will be able to see, and then just widen it and you should be able to see the urethra and the surrounding tissues. Any unusual discharge, check out from the urethra. Okay, if there is any blood, mucus, purulent discharge is noted. The skin and the mucous membrane of the surrounding tissues are inspected, and the presence of lesions, rashes or any other abnormalities of the penis or scrotum or of the labia or vagina orifice is documented. So when you are doing the assessment, also make sure that you assess the genital area. For men, if it is, then you have to see for scrotum, penis, for female, labia and vagina orifice also if there is any signs of infection. Then urethral irritation is suspected when the client reports discomfort with urination. So if the patient is having maturation problem or pain, okay, it can be because of urethral irritation. So this all we have to keep in mind when you check the urethra. You wear the glove with adequate light source. You have to check at the urethral orifice, see at the urethra, see for any color changes, discharges, blood, mucus, pus coming, okay, and then also with that male and female genital organs also has to be checked. So if they have urinary problem, it can be because of any infection. Okay, then psychosocial assessment that we have to do. So concerns about the urological system may evoke fear. So patient might have fear. Sometimes they'll feel, oh, do I have a big kidney disease or renal failure has happened? Okay, so fear can come in. So we have to assess fear, anger, sometimes embarrassment, anxiety, guilt or sadness in the client. Childhood learning often includes privacy with regard to urination habits. So sometimes they will also not be very happy when we examine the urinary meatus. Okay, because it is from the childhood they have thought something which is very private, which is kept closed. Urological disorders may stimulate previously forgotten memories of difficult toilet training and bedwetting, or of childhood experiences of exploring one's body. So any other association they had before, associated disorders, so this will be reminded to the person. The client may ignore symptoms or delay seeking health care because of emotional responses or cultural taboos about urogenital area. So sometimes even when they are having urinary infection, high fever will be there, they will be having problem in maturating because of the culture and system, the taboos, the tradition that has followed, where they will not show off their private area. Because of this also they might hesitate coming to the hospital. Okay, so that's psychosocial assessment. So we should be able to deal and talk to them, nothing to worry because of the illness. Every patient when they come, we do the check, that is to find out the problem so that the problem can be rectified. So this has to be taught to the patient and ease the patient from all the traditions and taboos, provide adequate privacy to the patient when you are carrying out the physical assessment for the patient. Okay, so these are all the things that you have to keep in mind when we do the physical assessment: inspection, auscultation, palpation, percussion, assessment of the urethra, psychosocial assessment. Okay, and then ease the patient to cooperate with the assessment. So next topic we will start with diagnostic evaluation. So what we are dealing here in detail, so that later we will not deal it in detail. Okay. So diagnostic evaluation, when we say test to measure kidney function damage and detect abnormalities. So why are we testing? To know whether the kidney is functioning properly or if there are any abnormalities. Okay, and or if there is any infection or damage to the kidney. Okay, so healthy kidneys remove waste and excess fluid from the blood. Blood and urine tests show how well the kidneys are doing their job and how quickly body waste are being removed. Urine tests can also detect whether the kidneys are leaking abnormal amounts of protein, a sign of kidney damage. Here's a quick guide to the test used to measure kidney function. Okay, so here healthy kidney removes. So when we see healthy kidney, normally removes all the waste and extra fluid from the body. So blood urine test show that the kidney are doing their job and how quickly water body waste are removed. So urine test also helps us to know whether the kidney is functioning normally or if it is leaking any abnormal amount of the protein, okay, or sodium from the body as a sign of kidney damage. Here's a quick guide. So what are the other tests that we will be doing? So when it comes to blood test, we have to check the serum creatinine. Creatinine is a waste product that comes from the normal wear and tear on muscles of the body. So this creatinine is actually coming from the wear and tear, okay, of the muscles, okay, worn out muscles of the body. Creatinine levels in the body can vary depending, so it also varies depending upon the age, race and body size. A creatinine level is greater than 1.2 for women and greater than 1.4 for men may be an early sign that kidneys are not working properly. If the creatinine level is below 1, it is okay, but then if it becomes in women greater than 1.2 and in men when it is greater than 1.4, it indicates that the kidney is not working properly. As kidney disease progresses, the level of creatinine in the blood rises. So because this creatinine is not being able to take out of the body, automatically the creatinine level will increase. Okay, next we have serum creatinine. Next is glomerular filtration rate, that is GFR, mathematical formula using the MDRD, okay, or CKD EPI equation. So there is an equation that is used, okay, by the lab technicians in order to calculate this GFR rate, that is glomerular filtration rate. So this test is a measure of how well the kidneys are removing waste and excess fluid from the blood. So this GFR will help us to understand how much of the waste is removed from the kidney and the excess fluid, which is the main functions of the kidney, from the blood. It is calculated from the serum creatinine level using, so what all do they use? They use the age and gender with adjustment for those of African American descent. So usually they use this age and gender. So there is certain kind of adjustment that is made for African American descent. For them there is different calculation. So normal GFR can vary according to age. As you get older, it can decrease. So as the age increases, the GFR rate decreases, which is normal. So as per the age, there is a differentiation of the GFR. That is the glomerular filtration rate. The normal value for GFR is 90 or above. Okay, so normally if you see the rate is 90 or it is more than 90, a GFR below 60 is a sign that kidneys are not working properly. Once the GFR decreases below 15, one is at risk for needing treatment for kidney failure such as dialysis or a kidney transplant. So if it is not functioning properly, then the patient might require dialysis or kidney transplant. Next we will go into blood urea nitrogen. So for GFR there is a formula. According to the age it differs, and then as the person gets aged, the GFR rate also decreases. So normally the GFR rate is 90 and above. Below 60 indicates that there is renal disease. Below 15 indicates that the patient should undergo treatment like dialysis or kidney transplant, which shows that the kidney is not functioning at all. And this is also calculated along with the creatinine. And for a descent, particularly Africo-American, it varies. Okay. So next we will go to BUN. So BUN, GFR, serum creatinine, you should remember. So what is BUN? BUN is blood urea nitrogen. It comes from the breakdown of protein in the foods you eat. So this urea nitrogen is actually a byproduct, or the breakdown of the protein. When we eat, the protein is broke down into urea nitrogen. A normal BUN level is 7 and 20. So it should be within the range of 7 and 20. As kidney function decreases, the BUN level also increases. Okay, so that is about BUN. It is a byproduct of protein that we eat, and the normal range is between 7 and 20. If it increases, it shows that the kidney is not functioning. Okay, so next we will go into other test. Okay, yeah. So kidney biopsy. So here, imaging test. So you have ultrasound and then CT scan. So even MRI can also be done, or PET scan also can be done. So usually when we see in ultrasound, the test uses sound waves to get a picture of the kidney. It may be used to look for abnormalities in size or position of the kidney, or for obstructions such as stones or tumors can be assessed. So next, CT scan. So this imaging technique uses X-rays to picture the kidney. So in ultrasound there is a machine, as you keep the transducer over the abdomen. So you should ask the patient to drink more of water. So easily when you place the transducer, the kidneys will be seen in the screen. So CT scan, it is almost like an X-ray. Okay, you can also take an X-ray picture to the kidney. So it also be used look for structural abnormalities. We will get in detail. Okay, then abnormalities and presence of obstruction is there. The test may require the use of intravenous contrast dye. So sometimes we can also inject dye. So as the dye is injected, so we will be able to focus on the kidney properly, which can be concern for those with kidney disease. Next we will go to kidney biopsy. So right? So taking a part tissue of the kidney and then sending it to find out the abnormality. So biopsy may be done occasionally for one of the following reasons: to identify a specific disease process and determine. So we can identify the disease process, we can evaluate the amount of damage that has occurred to the kidney and find out why a kidney transplant may not be doing well. If the kidney transplant already is being done, if the kidney is not functioning, then biopsy helps us to understand why the kidney is not functioning well. So a kidney biopsy is performed by using a thin needle with a sharp cutting edge to slice some pieces of kidney tissue for examination under a microscope. So we should be able to take the tissue and keep it under the microscope, and we should be able to visualize. And then we have to do the urine test. Okay, so kidney biopsy we have seen. Next we'll go to urine test. So in urine test we know, right? So urine test require only a couple tablespoons of urine. Other tests require collection of all urine produced for full 24 hours. So you can either take the urine for 24 hours and do the test. So you might require a 2 teaspoons of urine only is required to do a test. 24-hour urine test. Usually it will show how much of urine the kidney is able to produce, and accurate measurement can be taken. Okay, and we can also assess how much of the protein is leaked from the kidney. Next is urine analysis. So when we do the urine analysis, it also includes microscopic examination of the urine sample as well as dipstick. Okay, we can dip it and see the color changes. Sugar test can also be performed. Okay, dipstick is chemically treated strips, like how you use it for the urine test, which is dipped into the urine sample. The strip changes color in the presence of abnormalities such as excess of protein, blood, pus, bacteria and sugar. Okay, so for sugar test we can have other strips and other strips which will help us to identify protein, blood, pus, bacteria. The color of the strip will change. A urine analysis can help us to detect kidney disease, diabetes, bladder infection and kidney stones. Next is urine protein. So when we say urine protein, this may be done as a part of urine analysis or by a separate dipstick. So urine protein, as I told you, you should have separate dipstick where you will be able to find out. So excess amount of the urine of the protein in the urine is called proteinuria. Okay, that excess protein in the urine is called as proteinuria, or presence of protein in the urine is called as proteinuria. Then a positive dipstick +1 or greater should be confirmed using a more specific dipstick such as albumin specific dipstick or a quantitative measurement such as albumin to creatinine ratio. So according to find out the how much it is, according to that they should use the dipstick. So this is about assessing only the urine protein. Okay, so there is a diagram that is tabular column that is given. So you can see if urine nitrogen, how much it should normal range for adults and what is the significance of abnormal findings that you can go through in the tabular column. But the tabular column is not clear. If it is not clear, you are not able to read, no problem. Anyway, we will be discussing with the disease condition. And you have microalbuminuria. Okay, so this is more sensitive dipstick which can detect a tiny amount of protein called albumin in the urine. So this is a special dipstick which can assess even the slight amount of albumin or the protein in the urine. People who have an increased risk of developing kidney disease such as those whose diabetes or hypertension should have this test, or an albumin to creatinine ratio if the standard dipstick of proteinuria is negative. So if the proteinuria standard dipstick is showing negative, but still they can undergo this microalbuminuria stick because it will trace even the small amount of protein that is found in the urine, mainly for diabetic and hypertensive patients. Next and last diagnostic evaluation is the creatinine clearance. So when we talk about creatinine clearance, so this is a waste product that comes from the normal wear and tear muscles of the body. Already we have seen serum creatinine. So creatinine clearance test compares the creatinine in a 24-hour sample of the urine. So in the urine, 24 hours urine can be collected, and then the test of this creatinine level in the blood also will be done, which will show how much of waste products the kidney are filtering out each minute. So in the collected urine we will find how much of creatinine is there. Along with the serum creatinine in the body that is present, we should be able to find out the creatinine clearance. So these are all the various diagnostic evaluation that is done. So I will just summarize. So diagnostic test, various tests that is done. You have blood test, under blood test serum creatinine, and then you have GFR, then blood urea nitrogen 1. 3 can be done. Imaging, even you can include X-ray, ultrasound, CT, MRI, all will be able to show us the swelling or infection or any obstruction of the kidney. Then kidney biopsy, it is done. Then it is also used to find out if the renal transplant is not functioning. Under urine test you have urine analysis, urine protein, microalbuminuria, creatinine clearance. So all these are done. Okay, so next video we will see if we can we'll start with the disease condition.